So for me, clairaudience was actually one of those spiritual senses that actually developed a bit later down the line for me. Predominantly, I was clairsentient and clairvoyant, which meant that which means that I get a lot of impressions through feeling and image. But it's quite an interesting story. One day, one evening before I was, had a session with a client, I discovered I was getting some impressions. I picked up psychically through this auditory sense a name, and then I heard a voice, but this voice was not my voice. And I thought to myself, who is this? And it was quite interesting because this was the first time clairaudience had turned on, had switched on. And it was a bit strange, I have to admit. I thought, well, who is this woman's voice? I've never heard her before, and who is this name? Sure enough, the next day passes, and I'm in the session with the client, and she's talking, and then the next thing I know, she says something. She uses a particular phrase. She speaks her words in a certain way, and instantly I remember, yes, that was those were the words I heard the night before, and I realized that was her voice I was hearing. And sure enough, it all became very apparent that message was for her. So I shared with her that name that I received, and it made sense for her, and it was actually somebody she was asking, wanting some guidance around a family member she was having some challenges with. So that was when, this was where clairaudience first switched on for me. I heard somebody's voice, which wasn't my own, and it was my client's the day before, and I got this, name that I heard very clearly, very loudly. For me, actually, specifically, usually I get a lot of my clairaudient messages as an inner voice from my higher self. So it can be that inner voice that's communicating messages, which feels like an aspect of yourself, your spirit, your spirit or soul. So that's often how I get, a lot of my clairaudient messages. My soul will communicate, and my inner voice will give me, the messages. So more like an internal voice than an external one. But it can be very much, an external experience as well for some people, and has been certainly for me from time to time, and when it first started opening up. There can be many different sounds and frequencies as well that come with that inner voice and that connection. When we still our mind and we let the light in, all is possible, all energy is possible and can be heard, as energy is also a frequency, which is also sound.